The ship's alarm screamed through the corridors of the Galactic Research Station Omega-7 as Commander Jake Morrison sprinted toward the containment breach. His boots hammered against metal floors while emergency lights painted everything blood red. Behind him, his second-in-command Lisa Grant shouted coordinates into her communicator, but Jake barely heard her over the chaos erupting around them. The Drathkar egg had hatched. 3 security teams lay unconscious in the biolab. Their weapons melted into slag by the hatchling's first breath. The creature, no bigger than a house cat, had already burned through 2 reinforced doors and was heading straight for the civilian quarters. Every species in the galaxy feared the Drathkar. They were living weapons, apex predators that had wiped out entire civilizations before reaching adulthood. This one shouldn't have hatched for another month. Someone had miscalculated badly. Jake reached the intersection where Corridor 7 met the civilian section just as the hatchling emerged from a smoking doorway. It moved like liquid mercury, scales shifting between obsidian black and deep crimson, 4 eyes, each burning with internal fire, locked onto him. The creature's mouth opened, revealing rows of crystalline teeth that could shred combat armor like paper. Heat radiated from its body in visible waves. He raised his plasma rifle, knowing it was useless. Drathkar hatchlings could withstand direct hits from ship-mounted cannons. His finger tightened on the trigger anyway, because that's what you did when death stared you down. You fought. Then a door behind him opened. A small human child, maybe 6 years old, stepped into the corridor. She had brown pigtails, wore a pink dress with stars on it, and carried a stuffed rabbit under one arm. Her name tag read, Lily Patterson. Jake's heart stopped. He moved to grab her, to throw himself between her and the monster. But he was too far away. The hatchling's attention snapped to the girl instantly. It crouched, muscles coiling, preparing to strike. Fire gathered in its throat, turning its chest translucent orange. Lily looked at the creature and gasped, not in fear, in delight. "You're so cute," she squealed, and ran straight toward it. Jake shouted a warning, but the girl was already there, tiny arms wrapping around the hatchling's neck. The Drathkar froze. Its fire died. 4 blazing eyes went wide, with what could only be described as complete confusion. The most dangerous predator in known space stood perfectly still while a human child hugged it. "Oh my gosh, you're so warm and your scales are so pretty," Lily cooed, running her hands over the creature's head. "Can I keep you, please? I'll take such good care of you, I promise." The hatchling made a sound Jake had never heard in any of the research files. A small, uncertain chirp. It tilted its head, studying the girl with an expression that looked almost worried, as if it had no idea what to do with this tiny human who showed zero fear. Lisa arrived beside Jake, weapon raised, but she didn't fire. Neither of them moved. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. "What do we do?" Lisa whispered. Jake had no answer. The hatchling could kill the girl with a casual swipe of its claws. One bite would end her, but it just stood there, letting her pet it, its tail slowly wrapping around her waist in what almost looked like a protective gesture. "I'm going to call you Ember," Lily announced, pressing her cheek against the creature's snout. "Because you're all warm and glowy. Do you like that name?" The hatchling chirped again, softer this time. "You do. I knew you would. We're going to be best friends forever." The creature's scales shifted to a deep purple color that the research database listed as a Drathkar response to contentment. Something that should have been impossible for a hatchling called. They didn't feel contentment. They felt hunger and rage and the urge to destroy. "Commander, we have a problem," Lisa said quietly. Her tablet showed bioscan readings. The hatchling's aggressive pheromones are dropping. Stress markers decreasing. This doesn't make sense. Jake watched Lily scratch behind what might have been the creature's ears. The hatchling leaned into her touch, eyes half closing. "Nothing about this makes sense," he replied. But he lowered his weapon because somehow, impossibly, a 6-year-old human girl had just done what the entire Galactic Federation couldn't do in 3,000 years of trying. She'd tamed a Drathkar. Admiral Peter Cross arrived at Station Omega. Damned. Second with 6 warships and enough firepower to crack a planet. He'd received the emergency transmission about the containment breach and expected to find a smoking ruin. Instead, he found Commander Morrison standing outside the station's main observation lounge, with his arms crossed and the strangest expression on his face. Inside the lounge, visible through the reinforced windows, a human child sat on the floor playing with the universe's most feared predator. "Explain," the Admiral said flatly. Jake gestured at the scene. "That's Lily Patterson, daughter of Dr. Helen Patterson, our xenobiology specialist. The creature is Specimen Drathkar, Alpha. 7. Hatched approximately 4 hours ago." The girl bonded with it immediately. Bonded. Admiral Cross repeated, his voice dangerously quiet. "Sir, I watched it happen. The hatchling was in full combat mode. It had already injured 9 security personnel and melted through 3 containment doors. Then Lily walked out, called it cute, and hugged it. The creature's been docile ever since. Through the window, Lily threw a ball. The Drathkar hatchling, which the database classified as an extinction-level threat, scampered after it like an oversized puppy. Its tail wagged. The Admiral pinched the bridge of his nose. "I need to sit down." They moved to the observation room where Lisa had set up monitoring equipment. Screens displayed the hatchling's vital signs, chemical composition readings, and behavioral analysis. A dozen scientists crowded around the data, talking rapidly in hushed, excited voices. Dr. Helen Patterson, a woman with the same brown hair as her daughter, but considerably more worry in her eyes, approached them. "Admiral, I've been studying these readings for the past 3 hours. What we're witnessing shouldn't be possible." "Make it make sense, Doctor," the Admiral ordered. Helen pulled up a holographic display. Drathkar hatchlings are hardwired for aggression. Their brain chemistry is flooded with compounds that trigger territorial violence and predatory behavior. It's how they survive on their homeworld. But look at Alpha, 7's current readings. The hologram showed chemical structures shifting and changing. The aggressive compounds were breaking down, replaced by something else entirely. When Lily touched the hatchling, something triggered in its brain. A dormant pathway that we didn't even know existed activated. The creature is producing oxytocin, dopamine, and serotonin, bonding hormones, the same chemicals that mammals produce when caring for their young. "That's impossible," Admiral Cross said. "Drathkar don't care for their young. They abandon their eggs and let the hatchlings fend for themselves." "Exactly," Helen replied. "But humans do care for their young, intensely. We've evolved strong parental instincts, and apparently those instincts can override our survival instincts when we see something we perceive as needing care." The Admiral stared at her. "You're telling me your daughter looked at a monster that's killed thousands of beings and thought it needed a hug?" Helen smiled slightly. "She's 6. Everything small and alone needs a hug in her worldview. And the creature responded to that. That's the remarkable part. The hatchling's neural structure is adapting to the bond. It's treating Lily as its parent, or possibly its clutchmate. Our linguists are working on understanding the vocalizations it's making, but preliminary analysis suggests it's trying to communicate with her." In the observation lounge, Lily was now reading a picture book to the hatchling. The creature sat beside her, its head resting on her lap, listening intently. Every few seconds it would make a soft, chirping sound, and Lily would pat its head reassuringly. "What happens when it grows up?" Jake asked the question everyone was thinking. "Full-grown Drathkar 50 feet long and can breathe fire hot enough to melt starship hulls." Helen pulled up growth projections. "Based on current behavioral patterns, I believe the bonding process may fundamentally alter its development. We're in completely uncharted territory here, but if the bond holds, we might be looking at the first domesticated Drathkar in galactic history." The Admiral walked to the window, hands clasped behind his back. 3 hours ago, I was prepared to order this station destroyed to prevent that creature from reaching maturity. Now you're telling me a first grader has accomplished what military scientists couldn't do in millennia." "With respect, sir," Jake said. "Humans have always been good at making friends with things that should eat them. We domesticated wolves. We ride horses. We keep snakes and spiders as pets. Maybe this is just what we do. A Drathkar isn't a wolf, Commander. No, sir, it's much more dangerous. Which means if we pull this off, it's much more impressive." The Admiral almost smiled at that. Almost. A commotion at the door interrupted them. A Vraxian ambassador, all four of his arms gesturing wildly, pushed past security. His translator collar crackled with static as he shouted, "This is an abomination. The Drathkar are sacred executioners of the old worlds. You cannot allow a human child to defile one with her touch." Lisa stepped forward, her hand moving to her sidearm. "Ambassador Krell, this is a restricted area. I demand that creature be destroyed immediately. It is an insult to 1,000 civilizations that fell before the Drathkar fury. The child must be removed." The Admiral's voice cut through the room like a blade. "The child stays. The creature stays. You can file a formal complaint with Federation Command." "This is madness," Krell hissed. "You're keeping a weapon of mass destruction as a pet. We're observing an unprecedented xenobiological phenomenon," Helen corrected calmly, "and my daughter is perfectly safe." As if to prove her point, Lily's laughter rang out through the speakers. She was playing peekaboo with Ember, covering her eyes with her hands while the hatchling tried to figure out where she'd gone. When she revealed herself, Ember bounced excitedly, scales flashing through a rainbow of colors. "Safe," Krell spat. "That thing will mature and kill everyone on this station. It is their nature." "Maybe," Jake said quietly. "Or maybe their nature is more flexible than we thought. Maybe they became monsters because no one ever showed them kindness." The Vraxian's eyes narrowed. "You're gambling billions of lives on a child's naive compassion." "Yeah," Jake replied, meeting his gaze. "We are. Because that's what humans do. We believe in second chances, even for monsters. Especially for monsters." The Admiral added, "Ambassador Krell, you're dismissed. I'll be filing my report with Federation Command within the hour. They can make the final decision." Krell stormed out, his translator collar still crackling with untranslated curses. The door sealed behind him with a hiss. Helen moved to stand beside the Admiral at the window. She's good with animals, always has been. Brings home every stray she finds. The Admiral watched Lily carefully arrange a blanket around the sleeping hatchling. Most strays don't grow up to be walking war machines. True, but they're still alive because someone cared. Maybe that's all anything needs. Someone to care. In the observation lounge, Lily settled down next to Ember, her stuffed rabbit tucked under one arm, her other hand resting on the hatchling's warm scales. The creature's breathing slowed, synchronized with hers, and for the first time since hatching, the Drathkar looked peaceful. Admiral Cross made his decision. Double the security protocols. "I want monitoring 24/7, but let them stay together." If this works, if we can prove that Drathkar can be bonded with, we might have just found a way to end 3,000 years of war. And if it doesn't work, Jake asked, then we'll deal with it. But I've spent 40 years in the service fighting things we didn't understand. Maybe it's time we tried understanding first. The week following Lily's bonding with Ember transformed Station Omega 7 from a research facility into something resembling a 3-ring circus. Scientists from 17 different species arrived hourly, all demanding access to study the impossible phenomenon. News feeds across the galaxy ran the story continuously, with reactions ranging from fascination to absolute horror. Jake found himself managing diplomatic incidents before breakfast most days. Currently, he was preventing a Kaldorian battle priest from storming the observation lounge with what appeared to be ceremonial weapons. "For the last time, you cannot perform an exorcism on a Drathkar hatchling," Jake said, blocking the corridor. The priest's translator rendered his clicking speech into precise standard. "The child is possessed by ancient darkness. The creature has clouded her judgment. This is the only explanation for her unnatural behavior." Or, Lisa suggested from behind Jake, "She's 6 and thinks it's cute. Have you considered that?" Impossible. No sentient being finds Drathkar aesthetically pleasing. Their very presence triggers primal fear responses across all species. Across all species except humans, apparently, Jake corrected. "Look, I've got xenobiologists, exopsychologists, and now religious officials all trying to explain this with their own frameworks. But the simple truth is a kid hugged a scary lizard and it liked being hugged. Sometimes the answer is just that simple." The priest's mandibles clicked rapidly in frustration before he finally retreated, muttering prayers of protection. "That's the 4th religious delegation this week," Lisa noted. "5th, the Crystalline Communion sent someone yesterday while you were off shift. Nice folks, actually. They wanted to bless Lily for bringing harmony to chaos. At least someone's supportive." They entered the observation room where Dr. Helen Patterson was reviewing overnight footage with her research team. On the screens, Lily and Ember could be seen sleeping together in the specially modified quarters. The hatchling had wrapped itself protectively around the girl, its body temperature carefully regulated to keep her warm without burning. "How'd they sleep?" Jake asked. Ellen smiled tiredly. 10 hours straight. Ember woke up once for food, ate carefully from the feeding station we set up, and went right back to Lily. The bond is strengthening daily. One of our colleagues, a young researcher named Kevin Brooks, pulled up new data. "Commander, you need to see this. We've been analyzing Ember's growth patterns. In 7 days, the hatchling has increased in mass by 40%. That's triple the normal rate for Drathkar development." Jake frowned. "Is that a problem? We don't know. But here's the interesting part. The growth is proportional and controlled. Normal Drathkar hatchlings grow in explosive spurts, developing weapon systems first. Ember is developing its skeletal structure and musculature evenly. It's almost like the bonding process has optimized its growth for long-term health rather than immediate combat capability. So it's growing up healthier because it's happy," Lisa summarized. "Essentially, yes." Helen brought up a comparison chart. "Here's a standard Drathkar at 1 week post-hatching. Aggressive, unstable, already showing signs of destructive behavior. And here's Ember. Calm, social, and demonstrating problem-solving skills we've never observed in the species before." The footage showed Ember carefully opening a complex puzzle box that Lily had given it. The hatchling used its claws with surgical precision, never damaging the toy until it successfully retrieved the treat inside. Then it brought the treat to Lily instead of eating it immediately. "It's sharing food," Kevin said, his voice filled with wonder. "Drathkar don't share. They're solitary hunters who kill rivals for food sources." But Ember brought its reward to Lily first. A commotion in the corridor interrupted their analysis. Admiral Cross strode in with a severe-looking woman in Federation Oversight Committee robes. Her nameplate identified her as Counselor Margaret Stone. "Commander Morrison," the Admiral said formally. "This is Counselor Stone from the Federation Science Ethics Committee. She's here to evaluate the situation." Counselor Stone's gaze swept the room with cold efficiency. "I've reviewed the reports. Where is the child and the creature now?" "In the residential lounge," Helen answered. "Lily is teaching Ember to play fetch." "Teaching it to play?" The counselor repeated flatly. "Dr. Patterson, your daughter is socializing an apex predator." "Yes, ma'am." "And doing a wonderful job of it. This is not a joke." The counselor pulled up her own data tablet. "I have casualty reports from 47 worlds where Drathkar have caused civilization-ending events. The species has a documented history of violence spanning 3 millennia. And you're treating this like a pet adoption." Helen's expression hardened. "With respect, counselor, those casualty reports all involve wild Drathkar or hatchlings that were subjected to extreme stress and isolation. Ember has experienced neither. My daughter has shown a consistent affection, provided security, and established clear boundaries. The creature is responding positively." "Boundaries," Stone scoffed. "What boundaries can a 6-year-old enforce?" "You'd be surprised," Jake interjected. "Yesterday, Ember tried to breathe fire when startled by a loud noise. Lily told it no very firmly. The hatchling stopped immediately and looked ashamed. I've never seen a Drathkar respond to verbal commands. Coincidence. For 7 days straight," Lisa added. "Every time Ember starts to display aggressive behavior, Lily corrects it. The creature is learning what's acceptable and what isn't. That's not coincidence. That's training." Counselor Stone moved to the observation window. Through it, they could see Lily in the lounge below, throwing a soft ball for Ember. The hatchling retrieved it enthusiastically, its tail wagging in a very undragon-like manner. "What's your endgame here, Admiral?" Stone asked quietly. Let's say this bond holds. The creature reaches maturity. Then what? A 50-foot fire-breathing dragon living on a civilian station. Admiral Cross joined her at the window. Then we'll have proven that even the most dangerous species in the galaxy can be reached through compassion. We'll have a template for peaceful coexistence instead of extinction, and maybe, just maybe, we'll have saved countless lives by showing there's an alternative to war, where you'll have created the perfect weapon bonded to a human child who can direct its fury. The Admiral's jaw tightened. Is that what you really think? That we're weaponizing a little girl's pet? I think you're taking an enormous risk, based on emotions rather than logic. Helen stepped forward. Counselor, I'm a scientist. I've spent my career studying xenobiology through data and observation. But I'm also a mother. And I'm watching my daughter do something incredible. She looked at a creature everyone else feared and saw someone who needed love. That's not foolishness. That's the best of what humanity can be. The counselor was quiet for a long moment, watching Lily laugh as Ember gently nuzzled her hand. The hatchling scale shifted through soft pastel colors, something the database listed as impossible for the species. I'm recommending continued observation under maximum security protocols, Stone finally said. But if that creature shows one sign of reverting to aggressive patterns, I'm ordering immediate termination. Is that clear? Crystal clear, the Admiral replied. Stone turned to leave, then paused. For what it's worth, I hope you're right. The galaxy could use more compassion and less fear. After she left, Jake let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. That went better than expected. She didn't shut us down, Lisa agreed. That's a win. Helen was still watching Lily and Ember through the window. Her daughter was now reading another story, and the hatchling sat attentive, its 4 eyes fixed on the pictures. She sees something we don't, Helen said softly. Something pure and simple that we've forgotten. That everything alive deserves a chance to be loved. In the lounge below, Lily hugged Ember close, and the creature that was supposed to be a monster hugged her back. The 3rd week brought the crisis everyone had been dreading. Ember had grown to the size of a large dog, and with that growth came the first real test of the bond. Jake was in the cafeteria when the alarm sounded. Not the general station alert, but the specific biocontainment warning that made his blood run cold. He grabbed his communicator while running. What's happening? Lisa's voice crackled back. It's Ember. Something's wrong. The hatchling's exhibiting extreme distress, core temperature rising rapidly. Where's Lily? Helen took her to medical for a routine checkup. They're separated. Jake reached the observation room to find chaos. On the screens, Ember was thrashing in the residential lounge, scales blazing red hot, fire building in its throat. The creature was crying out, a sound of pure anguish that made the station's hull vibrate. Dr. Patterson rushed in, her face pale. We need to get Lily back there now. Negative. Admiral Cross's voice cut through the room. He'd arrived seconds behind Jake. We evacuate the sector and contain the creature. This is exactly what Counselor Stone warned about. Admiral, please, Helen begged. Ember isn't being aggressive. It's scared. It thinks Lily abandoned it. On the screens, the hatchling's fire was growing hotter. The reinforced windows were beginning to show stress fractures. We don't have time for this debate, Kevin shouted from his console. Ember's core temperature is approaching critical. If it releases that energy, it'll tear through 3 decks. Jake made a decision that would probably end his career. Get Lily. Now. Commander, that's a direct violation of protocol, the Admiral started. Sir, with respect, standard protocol doesn't cover bonded Drathker. We try it Helen's way or we lose the entire sector. The Admiral's eyes met Jake's. A long moment passed. Then he nodded sharply. Make it happen. But if this goes wrong, it's on both our heads. Jake sprinted to medical. Lily was arguing with the nurse who was trying to keep her in the exam room. The little girl's eyes were red from crying. Ember needs me, Lily sobbed. I can hear it. It's scared. Jake scooped her up. Then let's go get your friend. They ran through the corridors, Lily clutching her stuffed rabbit with white knuckles. Behind them, Helen followed, her medical training warring with her maternal instincts. They could feel the heat radiating from the residential sector before they even reached it. The door to the lounge was glowing cherry red. Beyond it, they could hear Ember's cries reaching a fever pitch. "I'm going in," Jake said, setting Lily down. "You wait here with your mom." "No." Lily's voice was small, but firm. "Ember won't hurt me. It's scared because it thinks I left. I have to show it I didn't. Lily, it's too dangerous." Helen tried to pull her daughter back, but Lily wriggled free and ran to the door. Before anyone could stop her, she palmed the emergency override. The door slid open, releasing a blast of superheated air that made the adults fall back. Through the heat shimmer, they saw Ember. The hatchling had grown spikes along its back, each glowing white-hot. Its eyes were wild, unfocused. Fire dripped from its jaws, scorching the floor. This was what a Drathkar was meant to be, a living weapon, beautiful and terrible. "Ember," Lily called out, walking into the inferno. Jake lunged forward, but Helen held him back with surprising strength. "Trust her," she whispered. The hatchling's head whipped around at Lily's voice. Its 4 eyes locked onto her, and the wildness in them flickered. "I'm sorry I left," Lily said, tears streaming down her face. "The doctor needed to check on me, but I'm back now. I'll always come back." Ember's cry softened. The fire in its throat dimmed. Slowly, carefully, Lily approached. "You're my best friend," the little girl continued. "I would never leave you alone. Never, ever." She reached up and touched the hatchling's snout, right between its burning eyes. Her hand should have been incinerated. Instead, Ember's temperature dropped instantly. The creature's scales shifted from angry red to the soft purple of contentment. The hatchling lowered its head to Lily's level and made a soft, questioning chirp. "I know," Lily said, hugging its neck. "I was scared too. But we're together now. It's okay." Ember's whole body relaxed. The spikes along its back retracted. The fire in the room died out. Within seconds, the temperature dropped from lethal to merely warm. The creature wrapped around Lily protectively, not possessively, and began making a sound that could only be described as purring. Jake and Helen rushed in. The floor was still hot enough to make their boots smoke, but the immediate danger had passed. Lily looked up at them with complete sincerity. "Ember just missed me, that's all. It won't happen again because I'm going to explain that sometimes I have to go to the doctor, but I always come back." The hatchling chirped in agreement, as if it understood every word. Admiral Cross appeared in the doorway, surveying the damage. The lounge's walls were scorched black. The windows had completely melted. The temperature controls were destroyed. And in the center of it all, a little girl sat with her dragon, completely safe. "Someone get engineering in here," he ordered. "We need to redesign this entire sector for higher heat tolerance. And get xenolinguistics on standby. I want to know if that creature actually understands standard language or if it's just reading Lily's emotional state." Kevin rushed in with portable sensors. "Sir, preliminary readings suggest it's both. Ember is responding to vocal tones, body language, and possibly even pheromones. The bond is creating a communication system we've never documented before." Over the next few hours, they carefully documented everything. Ember's distress had been purely emotional, not aggressive. The hatchling had been calling for Lily, not threatening anyone. When reunited with the girl, its behavior had normalized immediately. Helen sat with her daughter in the temporary quarters while Ember slept, exhausted from the emotional ordeal. "We need to establish better protocols," she said quietly. "If you and Ember are going to be separated, we need to prepare the hatchling for it." Lily nodded seriously. "I'll tell Ember stories about all the times I came back, so it knows I always will. Sweetheart, there might be times when I have to go away for work. Or when you get sick and need to be in medical. Ember needs to understand that's normal. Can Ember come to medical with me?" Helen started to say no, then paused. "Actually, that's not a bad idea. If Ember can remain calm in different environments while staying with you, it proves the bond is strong enough to handle stress." Jake, who'd been listening from the doorway, added, "We'll need to test that under controlled conditions. Start small. Take Ember to different parts of the station while supervised." The little girl's face lit up. "Like field trips. Exactly like field trips. And if Ember can handle those without incident, we can gradually increase the challenges. Lily looked at the sleeping hatchling, its chest rising and falling peacefully. Ember can do it. I know it can, because we're a team. The creature stirred at her voice, opened one eye, then settled back to sleep with its tail wrapped around Lily's waist. Yeah, Jake said softly. You really are. Later that night, he filed his report with Admiral Cross. Today's incident proved two things. First, the bond between Lily and Ember is powerful but requires careful management. Second, separation causes the hatchling extreme distress that could escalate to dangerous levels. The Admiral read the report in his office while Jake stood at attention. Your recommendation. We treat them as a unit. Where Lily goes, Ember goes. We modify the station to accommodate a growing Drathkar instead of trying to isolate it. And we accept that we're in completely uncharted territory here. Admiral Cross leaned back in his chair. The Federation Council is watching this closely, Commander. If we fail, it won't just be our careers on the line. It'll set back human-alien relations by decades. And if we succeed, sir, then we'll have proven that compassion is stronger than fear, that bonds can bridge any divide, and that sometimes the bravest thing a person can do is hug a monster and call it friend. The Admiral smiled slightly. When you put it that way, it almost sounds reasonable. With respect, sir, nothing about this situation is reasonable, but that's never stopped humans before. No, the Admiral agreed. No, it hasn't. Month 2 brought visitors from the Drathkar homeworld, and with them answers that challenged everything the galaxy thought it knew. The delegation arrived without warning, their ship dropping out of hyperspace on the edge of the system, with enough firepower to level the station. Jake barely had time to raise shields before his console lit up with an incoming communication request. The beam that appeared on the view screen was massive, easily 30 feet long, with scales that shifted through colors Jake had never seen in any database. Its 4 eyes burned with ancient intelligence. I am Kethvar, speaker for the Burning Throne. The translation came through in perfect standard. We have felt a disturbance in the breeding grounds. A hatchling has bonded incorrectly. Admiral Cross stepped forward. This is Station Omega 7. We've had no hostile intentions toward your species. You sheltered Drathkar, Alpha 7. The youngling who has abandoned its purpose. Jake exchanged glances with Lisa. Abandoned its purpose. Your scholars believe us to be mindless destroyers, Kethvar continued. This is only partially accurate. We destroy because we are meant to destroy, but we choose what we destroy. The Admiral's expression remained neutral. I'm not sure I understand. Then allow me to enlighten you. The Drathkar serve as the galaxy's immune system. We eliminate civilizations that grow too corrupt, too destructive, too dangerous to others. For millennia, we have carried this burden alone. We are born knowing we will never be loved, never be welcomed, never be anything but feared. This is our sacrifice. The words hung in the air like a physical weight. But Alpha 7 has experienced something different, Kethvar said. And now his tone carried what might have been wonder. A human child showed it affection. The youngling's neural pathways have been fundamentally altered. It will never fulfill its purpose now. It will never choose what to destroy because it has learned a different way. Helen pushed forward. You're saying Drathkar choose to be aggressive. We choose to accept our role. We are capable of bonding, Dr. Patterson. We simply choose not to, because bonded Drathkar cannot perform the culling that keeps the galaxy in balance. The creature you call Ember can never return to us now. So you've come to take it back, Jake said, his hand moving toward the weapons console. No, Commander. We have come to understand what has happened. Kethvar's image shifted, and suddenly Lily appeared on screen, playing with Ember in the observation lounge. The live feed showed the little girl teaching the hatchling to stack blocks. She is remarkable, Kethvar said quietly. In 3,000 years, no being has ever offered a Drathkar hatchling kindness. Most flee, some attack, none embrace. This child saw a weapon and chose to love it anyway. Admiral Cross straightened. What are your intentions, Speaker? We wish to meet the child, and to offer the Burning Throne's protection. If your Federation chooses to harm Ember or separate it from the girl, they will face the full might of the Drathkar fleet. The threat was delivered calmly, but everyone in the room felt the weight of it. The Drathkar could end civilizations. The station wouldn't last 5 minutes. We have no intention of harming either of them, the Admiral said carefully. But the Federation has concerns about a bonded Drathkar, as they should. Kethvar's color shifted to something that might have been amusement. A fully grown Drathkar bonded to a human could reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. Your species has a disturbing tendency to achieve the impossible, Commander Morrison. Adding our kind to your collection of unlikely allies could prove catastrophic for anyone who threatens humanity. Jake couldn't help but smile slightly at that. We do have a habit of befriending things that should eat us. Yes, we have studied your history. You domesticated wolves. You ride horses. You keep apex predators as companions and call them family. The Burning Throne believed this was unique to Earth's ecosystem. We did not realize humans would attempt the same with beings from other worlds. Helen stepped forward. Speaker Kethvar, can you tell us about the bonding process? Why did it work with Lily? Because she is young, pure of intent, and incapable of strategic thinking. The speaker's tone was gentle. Adult minds see Drathkar and calculate threat levels. They process fear through logic. But children simply feel. Your daughter felt compassion, and Ember's dormant bonding instincts responded. The hatchling imprinted on her as kin. And now? Lisa asked. Now Ember will grow to protect her above all else. The bond cannot be broken except by death. Where she goes, it will follow. What threatens her, it will destroy. You have not tamed a monster, Dr. Patterson. You have given it the one thing that can make it truly dangerous. A reason to care. The Admiral considered this. If Ember stays with Lily, what happens as it matures? That depends entirely on the child. Kethvar brought up holographic projections. If she remains kind, it will remain gentle. If she is threatened, it will become the weapon we were bred to be. If she asks it to burn down cities, it will do so without hesitation. The responsibility is tremendous. She's 6 years old, Helen protested. Yes, which is why the Burning Throne offers this. We will send a teacher, one of our kind who understands both the old ways and this new path. Someone who can guide Ember's development and help the child understand what she has undertaken. Jake frowned. You'd send one of your people to live among humans. We would send Kethvar, the speaker corrected. I will come myself, because what happens with Ember will determine the future of our entire species. The room fell silent. If a human child can love a Drathkar, the speaker continued, and if that Drathkar can grow healthy and balanced despite the bond, then perhaps we have been wrong. Perhaps our sacrifice was unnecessary. Perhaps there is another way. Admiral Cross met the ancient being's gaze. You're looking for hope. We are looking for proof that we can be more than destroyers, that our children can know love instead of duty, that we can choose a different path. The small human girl and her bonded hatchling may hold the answer to questions we have carried for 3 millennia. The Admiral made his decision. You may come aboard, Speaker Kethvar, but you'll follow our protocols and answer to our command structure. Agreed. The speaker's colors shifted to deep respect. I will arrive within the day. And Admiral, thank you for protecting them both. The transmission ended, leaving everyone staring at the blank screen. Did that really just happen? Lisa asked quietly. Jake checked his console. There's a Drathkar diplomatic vessel requesting docking clearance. So yes, apparently it did. Helen was already moving toward the door. I need to prepare Lily. She's about to get a very large, very ancient teacher. Doctor, the Admiral called after her. What are you going to tell her? Helen paused. The truth. That Ember is special, and someone is coming to help them both learn and grow together. Lily will be excited. She loves making new friends, even if that friend is a 30-foot dragon who speaks for an entire civilization of world killers. Especially then, Helen replied with a slight smile. You clearly don't know my daughter very well. Kethvar's arrival transformed the station's dynamic completely. The ancient Drathkar moved through the corridors with careful grace, his massive form somehow elegant despite the destruction it was clearly capable of. The first meeting between the speaker and Lily happened in the newly reinforced observation lounge, with every security protocol active and half the station watching via monitors. Lily stood in the center of the room with Ember beside her, both of them staring up at Kethvar with wide eyes. The ancient Drathkar lowered his great head to her level, studying the small human child with intense curiosity. "Hello," Lily said politely. "I'm Lily Patterson. This is Ember. Are you here to be friends too?" Kethvar made a sound like distant thunder rumbling. "I am here to teach, little one, to help you understand what you have begun." Lily considered this seriously. "Are you going to teach Ember too?" "Yes. And I will teach you about Ember. The bond you share is sacred and ancient. It requires wisdom." "Okay." Lily reached up and patted Kethvar's snout, exactly as she did with Ember. "You're really big and pretty. Your scales are like rainbows." The ancient Drathkar's colors shifted rapidly, cycling through patterns that the monitoring equipment had never recorded before. In the observation room, Kevin frantically took notes. "That's shock," he muttered. "Pure shock." A human child just complimented a Burning Throne speaker. Ember chirped and moved protectively in front of Lily, tiny compared to Kethvar, but clearly ready to defend her if needed. The ancient dragon's attention shifted to the hatchling. "You have grown well, young one," Kethvar said in what the translator rendered as a different, deeper language. "Do you understand your purpose now?" Ember responded with a series of complex chirps and rumbles. The translator struggled for a moment, then produced text. "Purpose is to stay with Lily, to protect Lily, to make Lily happy." Kethvar's scales rippled. "That is not the purpose you were bred for. New purpose is better." The hatchling's response was simple and absolute. Old purpose was alone. New purpose is together. The ancient dragon was quiet for a long moment. Then his color shifted to something that looked like sadness mixed with acceptance. "Yes, young one. Perhaps it is better." Lily tugged on Kethvar's claw to get his attention. "Can you stay for dinner? Mom makes really good food. We're having spaghetti." "I do not eat human food, child." "Oh." Lily looked disappointed. "What do you eat?" Kethvar paused, as if unsure how to explain his diet to a 6-year-old. "We consume energy-rich minerals and metals. Our biology is quite different from yours." "Like rocks?" Lily asked, fascinated. "Ember tried to eat a rock once, but I told it no. Rocks aren't food. For us, they are." Kethvar seemed almost amused. "But Ember should follow your guidance. You understand nutrition better than it does." The ease with which Lily accepted this information and continued chatting with the ancient Drathkar left everyone watching stunned. Within an hour, she had Kethvar sitting on the floor while she explained the plot of her favorite animated movie, using Ember as a visual aid for the dragon characters. "She's lecturing a 3,000-year-old being about cartoon dragons," Lisa observed. "And he's listening attentively," Jake added. "I don't know whether to be amazed or terrified." "Both seems appropriate," Admiral Cross said. "Dr. Patterson, your daughter is conducting successful first contact with a species we've been afraid of for millennia." Helen watched her daughter gesture enthusiastically while Kethvar's colors shifted through what they'd learned were patterns of interest and engagement. She has no fear, no preconceptions. She just sees beings who deserve respect and friendship. Over the following weeks, Kethvar's presence became surprisingly normal. The ancient Drathkar established a routine of teaching sessions with both Lily and Ember, explaining the history of their species, the nature of the bond, and the responsibilities that came with it. He modified the curriculum for a 6-year-old's understanding, turning complex philosophical concepts into simple lessons about friendship and trust. One afternoon, Jake found Lily and Kethvar in the station's arboretum, the one place large enough to accommodate the speaker's full size. Ember was practicing controlled fire breathing under Kethvar's supervision, producing small flames that Lily directed to light decorative candles arranged in patterns. "Good," Kethvar rumbled. "Control is essential. Fire is a tool, not a tantrum." Ember chirped agreement and produced another precise flame. lighting the last candle in Lily's star pattern. "Perfect," the little girl exclaimed, clapping her hands. "See, you're so good at this." Jake approached carefully. "How's the lesson going?" "Excellent," Cathvar replied. "Young Ember has natural talent for precision work. Most hatchlings cannot control their fire for months, but the bond provides focus." Lily beamed with pride. Ember is really smart. Yesterday, it learned to open doors without burning them. "A useful skill," Jake agreed. "Speaker, can I ask you something?" The ancient dragon's attention turned to him. "Of course, Commander. Why now? Why did your people never try bonding before? If it's possible, why let generations of Drathkar grow up alone?" Kethvar's colors darkened. "Because we believed loneliness was necessary. We thought that beings who knew love would refuse the duty of culling dangerous civilizations. We chose isolation for our children so they would not hesitate to destroy when needed. But you were wrong. Perhaps." The speaker watched Ember nuzzle Lily's hand. "Or perhaps we were simply afraid. Afraid that if our children knew love, they would realize what we had denied them. Easier to believe bonding was impossible than to admit we had chosen duty over happiness." "That's incredibly sad," Jake said quietly. "Yes, 3,000 years of sadness, carefully maintained." Kethvar's gaze remained on Lily and Ember. "But this child, this small human, looked at our most carefully crafted weapon and chose compassion over fear. She has done what we could not. She has shown us another way. What happens now? To your species, I mean." The Burning Throne debates. Some believe Ember is an aberration that should be eliminated to preserve our purpose. Others see hope for change. The outcome will depend largely on how well Ember matures. If the bonded hatchling can grow healthy and balanced, it proves our sacrifice was unnecessary. That's a lot of pressure on a kid and her pet dragon, yes, which is why I am here, to ensure they succeed. Because if they fail, the Burning Throne will conclude that bonding makes us weak, and they will ensure no Drathkar ever experiences love again. The weight of that responsibility settled over Jake like a physical thing. He watched Lily teach Ember to play a clapping game, the hatchling carefully tapping its claws against her palms in rhythm. They had no idea they were carrying the hopes of an entire species. "We won't let them fail," Jake said firmly. "I know, Commander. That is why I came to humanity. Your species has a remarkable record of succeeding at impossible things. If anyone can guide a bonded Drathkar to healthy maturity, it is you." Over the next months, Ember grew rapidly. By month 4, the hatchling was the size of a horse. By month 6, it had to move to specially modified quarters that could accommodate its increasing bulk. But despite the physical changes, the core bond remained strong. Ember's personality developed in ways that fascinated the research team. The creature showed humor, playing pranks on station personnel by hiding their tools in hard-to-reach places. It demonstrated empathy, becoming distressed when Lily was sad and trying to comfort her. It even began learning to read, following along when Lily practiced her schoolwork. Dr. Helen Patterson documented everything meticulously, her reports becoming the foundation of a new field of study. Bonded xenobiology, she called it, the science of forming emotional connections across species barriers. Lily turned 7 during this time, and the station threw her a birthday party that would go down in galactic history. 73 different species sent representatives. Ember, now large enough to wear a party hat the size of a tent, sat patiently while children from various alien races climbed on its back. The hatchling even let a Vraxian child ride on its head, something that would have been unthinkable months earlier. Ambassador Krell attended, the same Vraxian who had demanded Ember's destruction during the first week. He approached Helen during the party, his forearms held in a gesture of respect. "Dr. Patterson, I owe you an apology. I called this madness. I demanded the creature be destroyed. I was wrong." Helen smiled. "You were scared. We all were. Fear is natural, but the child was braver than all of us." Krell watched Lily feed Ember a massive birthday cake shaped like a spaceship. She looked at a monster and saw a friend. "That is a courage my people aspire to but rarely achieve." "She doesn't see monsters," Helen said softly. She just sees beings who deserve kindness. I think that's her real gift. Not that she's brave, but that she's genuinely incapable of prejudice. The galaxy needs more beings like her. Yes, it does. As the party wound down and Ember curled up for a nap with a dozen sleepy children nestled against its warm scales, Kethvar approached Admiral Cross. "The Burning Throne has made their decision," the ancient Rathkar said quietly. "They have observed Ember's development. They have seen the bond's strength, and they have concluded that it works." "That's good news," the Admiral replied carefully. "It is revolutionary news." Kethvar's colors shifted through patterns of hope and anxiety. "The Burning Throne has authorized an experimental program. 3 more eggs will be brought to human space. 3 more children will be given the opportunity to bond with Drothgar hatchlings." The Admiral's eyes widened. "You're serious?" "Completely. If this succeeds, if multiple bonded Drothgar can integrate into galactic society, we will begin changing our entire species' approach to development. No more isolation. No more mandatory duty. Our children will have choices. And if it fails, then Ember becomes the only bonded Drothgar in existence, and my people return to the old ways forever." The speaker's gaze found Lily, still sleeping peacefully against Ember's side. "Everything depends on that small human and her dragon. They are the test case for a future we have never dared imagine." Admiral Cross watched the sleeping child and the creature that would die to protect her. "No pressure, right?" "Indeed," Kethvar rumbled, something that might have been laughter in his tone. "No pressure at all." As the months turned to years, Ember continued to grow, but so did Lily's understanding of the responsibility she carried. Now 9 years old, she attended special classes that Kethvar designed specifically for bonded humans. She learned Drothgar physiology, psychology, and culture. She studied the history of her species' relationship with the dragons, and she began to understand that she and Ember were pioneers in something much larger than themselves. 3 more children had bonded with Drothgar hatchlings, each bond unique, but equally strong. A boy named Danny Martinez bonded with a hatchling he named Spark. A girl called Amy Chen formed a connection with one she called Storm. And a quiet boy named Carlos Rivera bonded with a hatchling he named Nova. The 4 children became close friends, their dragons growing up together, learning from each other and from Kethvar's patient instruction. Jake, now promoted to station commander, oversaw what had become the Bonded Drothgar Integration Program. His days consisted of managing diplomatic relations, coordinating with the Burning Throne, and occasionally mediating disputes between 4 kids arguing about whose dragon was better at flying. That last part was surprisingly common. One morning he found Lily sitting alone in the arboretum, staring at the stars through the transparent dome. Ember lay beside her, now massive enough that its head was level with the second-floor observation deck. The dragon's presence had become so normal that Jake barely registered the enormity of it anymore. "Everything okay, Lily?" he asked, sitting down beside her. The girl, now tall enough to reach his shoulder, nodded slowly. "I've been thinking about what Kethvar said, about how Ember and I are proving something important." "That's a lot to think about at 9 years old." "I know." Lily leaned against Ember's side, and the dragon's chest rumbled with contentment. "But it's also kind of cool. We're showing everyone that being different isn't scary. That you can be friends with anyone if you try. That's a good way to look at it." "Jake, do you think other species will want to try bonding with their scary creatures too?" The commander considered this. "Honestly, I think you've started something that's going to change the whole galaxy. Not just with Drothgar, but with how everyone thinks about species they're afraid of." "Good." Lily's voice was firm. "Everyone deserves a chance to be loved. Even dragons." "Especially dragons," Jake agreed. Ember chirped softly, and Lily giggled. "Ember says thank you. You can understand what it's saying now. Sort of. It's not like words, more like feelings and pictures. But yeah, we can talk." "That's incredible. When did that develop?" "It's always been there, I think. It's just gotten stronger as we both grew up. Kethvar says that's normal for bonded pairs. The longer we're together, the deeper the connection gets." Jake filed that information away for his next report. "The bond is still evolving. That's important. A commotion near the entrance caught their attention. Dr. Patterson rushed in, her face flushed with excitement. Lily, you need to see this. Now. What's wrong, Mom? Nothing's wrong. Everything's right. Helen pulled up a holographic display. The Burning Throne just made an announcement. They're opening bonding programs on 5 more worlds. They're teaching other species how to approach Datrakar hatchlings. Because of you. Because you showed them it works. Lily's eyes went wide. Really? Really. And there's more. The Federation Council has officially recognized Rathkar bonding as a legitimate form of interspecies cooperation. They're creating protocols, establishing support systems, building... This is happening, sweetheart. You changed the galaxy. The little girl looked at Ember, then back at her mother. I just hugged a dragon because it looked lonely. I know, Helen said, tears in her eyes. And that simple act of kindness rewrote 3,000 years of history. Ember made a series of complex sounds that the translator had learned to interpret as pride and happiness. The dragon lowered its massive head to Lily's level, and the girl hugged its snout. We did it, she whispered. We showed everyone. You did, Cathvar's voice rumbled from the doorway. The ancient Drathkar entered the arboretum, his colors brilliant with joy. The Burning Throne has declared a new era. The Age of Bonding, they call it. And you, small human, are its architect. I had help, Lily said, looking around at Jake, her mother, Cathvar, and Ember. Everyone helped. True wisdom, the speaker replied, recognizing that change requires community, not just courage. So what happens now? Jake asked. Now, Cathvar said, we teach. We spread knowledge of bonding to every corner of the galaxy. We ensure that no Drathkar hatchling ever grows up alone again unless it chooses to, and we prove that compassion is not weakness, but the strongest force in the universe. That's a pretty ambitious goal. Yes, Admiral Cross said, entering behind Cathvar, which is why the Federation is establishing a new division specifically for this work, the Interspecies Bonding Initiative. And we're offering you command, Morrison. Jake blinked. Sir, you've been managing this program since day one. You understand both the humans and the Drathkar. And most importantly, you believed in a little girl who hugged a dragon. That's the kind of vision we need leading this initiative. What about the station? Your second in command is more than capable. Lisa's already been briefed. Jake looked at Lily, who was grinning at him. You should do it, Commander Jake. You're really good at helping people be friends. Out of the mouths of babes, Helen said with a smile. Jake found himself nodding. All right, I'm in. Excellent, the Admiral said, because your first assignment is already here. A delegation from the Zarnix Collective wants to discuss bonding their hatchlings with compatible species. Apparently, they've been watching what happened with Ember. The Zarnix, Cathvar said thoughtfully. Crystalline beings who communicate through resonance. Fascinating. Their young are typically raised in isolation chambers. Bonding could revolutionize their entire culture. This is really happening, Jake said, still trying to process it all. Yes, Commander. Lily smiled up at him. We're making the galaxy friendlier, one hug at a time. Ember chirped in agreement, and for a moment Jake saw not a massive dragon capable of leveling cities, but a happy creature surrounded by beings who loved it. A monster that had become family because one child refused to see it as anything else. And really, wasn't that what humanity did best? Looking at the impossible and saying, let's try anyway. The ceremony marking the official launch of the Interspecies Bonding Initiative was held on Earth, in a massive stadium that accommodated beings from across the galaxy. Lily stood on stage with Ember beside her, both of them wearing formal attire. Well, Lily wore a dress. Ember wore ribbons braided into the scales along its neck, which Lily insisted made it look fancy. Delegates from 47 species attended. Representatives from the Burning Throne stood in positions of honor. And the entire event was broadcast live across the galaxy, reaching billions of viewers. The Federation president, a dignified Terralian named Executor Vance, approached the podium. Today marks a turning point in galactic history. For millennia, we have allowed fear to dictate our relationships with species we deem dangerous. We have isolated, contained, and in some cases eradicated beings we did not understand. But one human child showed us a different way. The massive view screens displayed footage of that first day, Lily running toward the hatchling, Ember's confusion, the moment the bond formed. This is not a story about taming monsters, Vance continued. This is a story about recognizing that the labels we apply to others often say more about our own fears than about their true nature. Lily Patterson looked at a Drathkar and saw not a weapon, but a being deserving of love. The crowd erupted in applause. Lily blushed, ducking her head. Ember made encouraging chirps, and she smiled at her dragon. Today, we launch a new initiative that will bring this philosophy to the entire galaxy. We will establish bonding programs, create support networks, and ensure that any species wishing to form deep connections across biological barriers has the resources to do so safely and successfully. Kethvar stepped forward. On behalf of the Burning Throne, and all Drathkar everywhere, I thank you. For 3,000 years, my people carried our duty in solitude. We believed it had to be that way. This child proved us wrong. She gave our kind permission to hope, to dream of a future where we are not feared but welcomed, where our strength serves not to destroy, but to protect. For this gift, we are eternally grateful. The ancient dragon's colors shifted through patterns of deep emotion, and his next words came directly from his own voice, not translated. The Drathkar language, harsh and beautiful, filled the stadium. When the translator rendered it, tissue boxes appeared throughout the audience. Let it be known across all stars and through all ages that humanity saw our darkest aspect and responded with their brightest. They met violence with gentleness, fear with courage, and isolation with embrace. This is the true power of their species. Not their technology or their tactics, but their unshakable belief that anyone can change, anyone can grow, and everyone deserves kindness. The crowd's response was thunderous. Beings from species that had never agreed on anything stood united in applause. Children waved flags. Adults wept openly. Lily was asked to say a few words. She approached the microphone, tiny compared to the massive stage, and looked out at the thousands of faces staring back at her. I'm not really good at speeches, she started, her voice amplified across the stadium. But I wanted to say thank you to everyone who helped Ember and me. My mom, Commander Jake Kethvar, and all the scientists and crew on Station Omega 7. And I want to thank Ember most of all for being brave enough to be my friend. She turned to her dragon. When I first saw you, everyone told me you were dangerous. But I didn't see danger. I saw someone who was alone and scared, just like I felt on my first day at the space station. So I did what I hoped someone would do for me. I said hello. Ember lowered its massive head, and Lily hugged its snout in front of billions of viewers. That's all anyone really needs, the little girl continued. Someone to say hello. Someone to show them they matter. Everyone in the whole galaxy deserves that, no matter how big or scary they look. The simple wisdom of those words resonated across species barriers. Translators worked overtime to render them in hundreds of languages. But the meaning transcended words. In that moment, watching a small human embrace a massive dragon, the galaxy understood. Kindness was not weakness, compassion was not naivety, and sometimes the bravest thing anyone could do was reach out a hand in friendship. The ceremony concluded with a demonstration. Lily, Danny, Amy, and Carlos brought out their dragons. Ember, Spark, Storm, and Nova performed a synchronized flight routine, their movements precise and graceful. They wove through the air above the stadium, breathing controlled flames that painted the sky with colors. The display culminated in all 4 dragons landing in perfect formation, their human partners running to embrace them. The crowd went absolutely wild. In the VIP section, Jake sat with Admiral Cross and Dr. Patterson. That, the Admiral said quietly, is what hope looks like. Yes, Helen agreed, watching her daughter laugh as Ember nuzzled her hair. That's exactly what it looks like. Jake's communicator buzzed. A message from the Zarnik's delegation. Commander Morrison, We have 17 species now requesting consultations about bonding programs. 17. Looks like you've got your work cut out for you, the Admiral said with a slight smile. Jake watched the 4 children and their dragons take their bows to thunderous applause. Yeah, he said, grinning. I really do. The years that followed were transformative. The Interspecies Bonding Initiative expanded rapidly, establishing programs on 32 worlds. Each species brought unique challenges. The Zarnik's crystalline hatchlings required resonance training. The Morphean shadow dwellers needed specialized light therapy. The Valkyrian ice swimmers demanded Arctic facilities, but the core principle remained the same: approach with kindness. Listen without prejudice. Give beings the chance to be more than their worst impulses. Success rates varied. Not every bonding attempt worked. Some species proved incompatible. Some individuals simply couldn't form the necessary connection. But enough succeeded that the galaxy's perspective began to shift. Fear gave way to curiosity. Isolation yielded to cooperation. Lily grew into a remarkable young woman, her bond with Ember deepening with each passing year. At 16, she entered university to study xenopsychology, with Ember attending classes alongside her. The sight of a fully grown draft car taking notes during lectures became oddly normal on campus. She also began training other children for bonding programs, sharing the lessons she'd learned over a decade of partnership with Ember. Her approach was simple and effective. She taught kids to see beyond appearance, to recognize emotions in beings nothing like themselves, and to offer compassion even when it was scary. Danny, Amy, and Carlos followed similar paths. Together, the 4 of them became known as the First Bond, respected across the galaxy as pioneers of interspecies cooperation. But it was a quiet evening when Lily was 17 that brought the story full circle. She and Ember were in their quarters on Station Omega, 7 now massively expanded to accommodate dozens of bonded pairs. Kethvar visited regularly, though he spent most of his time traveling the galaxy as an ambassador for the Burning Throne. The ancient dragons settled into the arboretum where they'd first met all those years ago. I have news, little one, he said to Lily, who was now taller than most adults, though to a being as massive as Kethvar she was still small. Good news, she asked, looking up from her homework. The Burning Throne has made a historic decision. They are formally ending the practice of culling dangerous civilizations. Lily's eyes widened. Really? Really? Kethvar's color shifted through patterns of profound emotion. We have studied the effects of bonding programs across the galaxy. We have seen how compassion changes behaviors, how connection reduces conflict. We have concluded that our role as destroyers is no longer necessary. The galaxy has found a better way. Your way. Ember, now large enough that its head brushed the Arboretum's 30-foot ceiling, made a sound of approval. So what will Drathkar do now? Lily asked. We will become protectors instead of executioners, guardians instead of weapons. We will use our strength to defend the innocent, not to eliminate the guilty. It is a better purpose, a purpose that allows for love. Because I hugged Ember. Because you showed us that strength and gentleness are not opposites, that power and compassion can coexist, that even beings bred for destruction can choose creation instead. The ancient dragon lowered his head to her level. You changed everything, Lily Patterson. Not just for Drathkar, but for every species that believed they were defined by their worst capabilities. But I just wanted a friend, I know. And that simple desire rewrote the galaxy's future. Kethvar's colors shifted to warmth and affection. The Burning Throne wishes to honor you. They have declared you and Ember the first recipients of the Dragon's Heart, our highest honor. You will be remembered forever as the beings who showed us how to love. Tears filled Lily's eyes. She wrapped her arms around Kethvar's massive snout, just as she had with Ember all those years ago. Thank you for teaching us, for believing in us, no small one. Thank you for believing in us first. Ember joined the embrace, carefully wrapping around both Lily and Kethvar. The 3 of them stayed that way for a long time, a human girl and 2 dragons, representing everything the galaxy had become. Later, Jake found them still there, talking quietly about the future. He carried news of his own. The Federation Council is creating a new position, he announced. Ambassador for Bonded Species Relations. It's a role that requires someone who understands both the science and the heart of what we're doing. Someone who's lived it. Lily looked at him. You want me to be an ambassador when you finish university? Yes. We need someone who can speak for bonded pairs across the galaxy. Someone who can guide new programs and resolve conflicts. Someone everyone trusts. I'm only 17. And you've accomplished more than most beings do in a lifetime. Jake smiled. Think about it. No pressure, but know that you're the best person for the job. Lily looked at Ember, who chirped encouragingly, then at Kethfar, who shifted his colors to approval. Finally, back at Jake. Can Ember come with me? Everywhere I go. That's non-negotiable. Where you go, your dragon goes. Then yes, I'll do it. Jake pulled out a small box. The council anticipated your answer. Inside was a badge, simple but elegant, bearing the symbol of a human hand holding a dragon's claw. Welcome to the service, Ambassador Patterson. As Lily pinned the badge to her jacket, Ember's chest glowed with pride. Kethvar's colors shifted through every hue in existence, and Jake found himself thinking back to that chaotic day when a 6-year-old girl had run toward a monster and called it cute. That moment had changed everything. One act of pure, uncomplicated kindness had reshaped galactic civilization. It proved that courage didn't always mean fighting. Sometimes it meant embracing. That strength wasn't about domination, but about protection. That love could bridge any divide, no matter how vast. The galaxy was better for it, safer, kinder, more connected. All because a little girl had looked at the most terrifying creature imaginable and seen a friend who needed her, and in the end, that friend had never let go either.